Welcome to Serious and Silly with Sheila and Scott. It's serious.
Silly.
It's seriously.
Silly, but serious.
But silly.
With Scott and Sheila. All right, so we would like to welcome, this is our first episode of Seriously Silly with Scott and Sheila, and we would like to welcome our first guest, the director, the campus director and the director of studies, Mr. Don Shewan. Woo! So Don, we would like you to just tell us a little bit about yourself and what your role at Champlain is.
I guess I probably should start by saying I'm a lifer. I started at Champlain in 1974, so that gives you kind of an idea that I've been here for a while. I started actually working in continuing education, ended up working in administrative services for a while, and then the job of campus director came open and I applied, and I was going to say they were foolish enough to hire me, but somebody might take that seriously and question that what happened. In the last 2 years, Champlain has gone through a structural change where the job that I occupied has seen some changes at two levels. First of all, the title is new. We are now constituent colleges rather than campuses, so the title of Constituent College Director, it sounds a lot more impressive, I'm sure, and Director of Studies is for the academic side. Essentially, the job is slightly schizophrenic. It divides into two pieces. One is to ensure, as Director of Studies, the academic quality of Champlain Saint-Lambert, to ensure that we are in line with government laws, regulations, and requirements, that the quality of what we do is what students deserve to have, and that's the best that we can give. On the other side, the job is more of a generalist. It's to manage the management team, to work on setting collaboratively, not alone, this is not a one-man show, but collaboratively overall goals and objectives for the campus, to work on the development of this place in a whole range of areas, whether it's new programs, new services, partnerships, all of those things. I mean, I could go on forever about it because I've been doing it for a while, but that in a nutshell, that would describe more or less what I do.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that introduction. And Scott?
Yeah, so the one thing, although Don has a very serious job, I've known him for 12 years, and he also has a very funny side. He's one of the funniest people here at the campus. So we feel like he's the exact type of person that we want to ask a couple of silly questions to. So here's the first one. Are you ready, Don?
No, it's not, I'm never going to be ready, but that's okay.
We would like to know, what is or was your worst job?
I suspect that probably just from the physical setting in that, when I was coming out of what would now be secondary 5, I couldn't find a summer job and ended up working for a company that was called Manpower, and they send you off to various places. One of the jobs I ended up doing was working at Imperial Tobacco. They have dryers, like kilns, for tobacco that when the plant comes in, they dry it and then treat it, do a whole bunch of things. The job that I and several people had was to crawl inside these drums. They were turned off, thankfully. And you had a scraper, and you had to scrape the tobacco off the inside of it. Now, under the best of times, the smell, the claustrophobia would have been unpleasant. It was in the middle of the summer. We happened to be in a heat wave. I think the average temperature then was in the 30s. And so you came out of there feeling just gross and disgusted, physically uncomfortable because of the tight space. And it clearly encouraged me to want to study a little bit more and to find something other than cleaning tobacco kilns. I had a few other interesting ones, but time is limited, so we'll stop there for now.
Well, that's pretty intense. And kids don't smoke. That's another
Well, there's that too.
Sorry, right?
Or if you do, don't inhale. No, I'm sorry. Now we're back to serious, I assume.
We're serious. No, well, actually, this next question is silly, but a little bit serious because, Dawn, have you ever been arrested?
Well, now, you see, if I'm quick, what I'm going to say is, I think so, but it was the 1960s, and you know that was the era of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and I'm not sure I remember. But the honest answer is yes, I was, in the 60s. We won't go into the details. I don't think that it's necessary. It was not a major crime. It was the kinds of things that some young men tend to do when they get a little angry and upset, and it breaks out into a little bit of a fracas. And so a number of us got to have a chat with some of the local constables. Now, I could blame that on coming from the park, because now, of course, Greenfield Park is so much more civilized now than it was back in the 60s and 70s. When I was growing up there, well, the 60s when I was growing up there. But we all do stupid things when we're younger and realize there are better ways to handle things. So that's the honest answer.
I love it. Thank you so much for being honest, because that's what the show is about. Honesty, silliness, and seriousness, right? So we're going to go on to a serious question because we do have a lot of students that have been asking us. And the serious question is, why did the college decide to have an online semester? And is there any chance that students will be back on campus either this semester or next?
Well, now that's two questions.
It's a two-parter, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, a little harder. Ultimately, the decision boils down to the degree to which we can keep people safe and deliver quality service, given the size and shape of our building, given real concerns that we don't become a place that is a hotbed for spreading the COVID virus. We set two prime goals as we moved it forward. The first was health and safety of people, because if we don't have that, everything else is going to fall down. The second one was to ensure that we could still deliver quality. And there, I think we need to take our hats off, first and foremost, to the teachers, but also to all of the other people who over the last, it feels like forever, doesn't it? But what are we going to? Last half a year almost now, they've done some incredible things. And students have learned, students have grown, students have developed, students have succeeded. And if that's the case, and I'm convinced it is, then we can say mission accomplished. Gradually, we're looking at various possibilities of bringing people back in. Right now, the nursing students are in 2 days a week because their schedule lends itself well. They have only nursing classes on that day. So it's not an issue of, well, I'd like to be online for this lab, but I have presence for this lab, but I have an online class right after. In managing that becomes somewhat nightmarish because the three of us might all be in separate classes after the one we have in common. How do we deliver that online if you're in the building? We don't have a good solution, so we haven't gone there. We're gradually looking to see if there are pieces that we can add based on what we're learning. And I really appreciate what the nursing students and nursing faculty are doing. We need to recognize, of course, that they are people who ultimately will be back when they graduate. They'll be out on the front lines of this whole thing. So they're in a different place in terms of experience than many of us. But what they're doing and how they're doing it, I think, informs as well of what possibilities might go in the relatively short run. Are we coming back? As soon as we can. I mean, this place is empty without students. It lacks the life that this college has. There's something about walking through the corridors when they're empty. You can almost hear the voices of earlier generations in the walls. And you have to have been here a long time to have that kind of a sense. And no, that's not one of those things back from the 1960s where, oh God, he's smoking again. And I didn't, but that's a different story. But really, this place was made to have students in it. It was made that way in so many ways. If you look at the student space, when we had to set priorities of how we were going to invest some money and what our priorities were, student space, enlarging the library, the H block, where we have a nursing facility, and on and on. The focus has been on those things, and it always should be. And so they were built for students. We need students in them. When will that happen? I don't know. I mean, and that's an honest answer. I could make up all sorts of things that'd make people happy and say, oh, he's wonderful. But they're not checks you want to take to the bank and try and cash.
Mhm.
The only one that you can be certain of is that we will make an honest effort, that we will be concerned about everybody's well-being. I mentioned the students, but the staff and the faculty are of equal importance when it comes to that. We all are. This is a team. The other thing, and it's not just to flatter the two of you, that I think people need to recognize are the efforts that folks like Student Services have made to keep students engaged. Because it's hard being away from the building, but when there are activities and opportunities for students to work together, to meet, they get something of the experience of what it's like to be in a college. And that helps at so many levels. It helps in personal development. It helps in student retention, because if you're not alone, you're more likely to hang in. It helps in learning to deal with situations going forward. All of those things. And you guys and the rest of the group deserve a lot of credit for that. And I know you're going to continue to do it as this semester goes forward. We look forward to it. On that note, I'll stop because I can rattle on for a long time. You probably need to edit this now.
Thank you so much, Don.
All right, so Don, you talked about flattering the two of us, and I'm glad you brought that up because it's time for the secret question.
Yeah.
Don, Don, Don.
Just give me a second. I forgot to turn my phone out. It's only my boss.
Oh no.
So all of you who will watch this need to back me up that I was doing something important. So your question, sir.
Very important, because without the secret question, we will not be able to wrap up this interview
Okay.
in style.
Yes.
So, here's the secret question.
Yeah.
Hope you're ready for it.
Yep.
This is probably the most important question that you'll answer all day, all semester, and perhaps all year. Who, Mr. Don Shewan,
Yes.
is your favorite rec tech? Is it Scott O'Brien or Sheila Barrington?
I'm sorry. The line seems to be breaking up. I thought you said, were they equally talented in different ways and bring things to the mix that, like having an ice cream sundae. If you have ice cream, you don't have a sundae. If you have syrup, you don't have a sundae. But when you put the two together and you put the cherry on the top, you've got a wonderful dessert.
That is
And,
such a good answer.
We will edit that so that he
You
says
can edit it where Scott says it's Scott and Sheila says
Exactly. I
the
think
reality,
so.
again, the reality is, and I dodged because I wouldn't pick. The strength of the college is that you both have different skill sets that you bring together. That the two, actually 1 and 1 doesn't add up to 2. It adds up to something more than that. Because it becomes an energy and a vibrancy that you can't describe until you live it. And that's true with all of us. And so on that little sermonette.
That's very beautiful. My goodness, a man with words.
very good at what he does. Well,
Yeah.
it's time to wrap it up. Thank you, Don. We will definitely have you back because there's so many more questions that we need to ask you. And
I'd be delighted. And if I could just, because I know this is for the students, hang in there. You got admitted to a college where 1 out of 2 applicants gets accepted. Every one of you. That means that we already know you have talent. We already know you have brain power. You can do this. And we will do everything we can to help you. But it will be done. And at the end, we will look forward to seeing each of you at a graduation where we celebrate the success that you've had while you're at Champlain. On that note, thank you all. Best wishes for a great semester.
Thank you very much, Don. And everybody, just make sure to keep following our little web series on our YouTube channel, Champlain College St. Lambert. And it's going to be under Serious and Silly with Scott and Sheila. So thank you very much, Don. Really appreciate everything and your honest questions. And you're awesome. So thank you.
Thank you. Bye now.
All right. Take care.